Good evening. My name is Kurt Donley. I'm here speaking as a private citizen. I live on Central Avenue, the border between the north and south sides of St. Pete. I know nobody wants to talk about this. Our newspapers won't write about it, and TV news will talk about anything but it. But anyone who's studied this, and certainly the folks who've been on the business end of it, know that the primary reason for the growing socioeconomic gap between the blacks and whites in this city and most cities around here is government-sponsored institutional racism. What I'd like all three candidates to answer is their understanding of what institutional racism does to St. Petersburg and what they're willing to do about it.
Great. Don't jump up all at once.
Hey, Kurt, that is a great question. And you know, it's not only institutional racism, there's also sexism, and there's also, we're beginning to see more ageism. But by far the one that I think hurts our community the most is the racism. And we see it in a lot of different departments. And I think folks who work in the city know exactly what I'm talking about. And I think it is time for a change, and I recognize those challenges that we have. And understand that when our labor is used to build somebody else's capital out in the private sector in the way of shareholders, we lose. And I think that's been a great, huge change that we have seen here in the United States. And that's why we see a bigger gap between the rich and the poor. And that is a problem that we're seeing. Government is one way that we have been able to offer folks still a good paying job with benefits. And we have seen where there are still differences in who has what jobs where in our municipal government. It's better than others, but we know from certain instances that how employees are treated within the city is different. For example, when statements are taken from police officers, are they sworn in or not during the investigation? And we know that, for example, white officers did not have to be sworn in, but black officers did. That's institutional racism, and that has to stop.
Top question. To me, institutional racism is discrimination regarding housing and the ability to get affordable housing. Institutional racism is cities spending more of its money in the Northeast and in downtown than in other areas of the city. Institutional racism is in black youths being arrested at 5 to 1 for possession of small amounts of marijuana compared to white youths. That type of thing, and being saddled with a record and a misdemeanor that makes it difficult to get jobs, that makes it difficult to get into college, when other options are available like civil citations. That's institutional racism, and it's deep-seated. And you talk about Central Avenue. I've talked about this previously. Central Avenue is like the Great Wall of China. It's this border that if you live to the north, you don't cross. And if we don't ever change that perception, nothing is going to change in this community. We have to start breaking down these barriers if we're going to really have a city that's equal, where everyone has the same options to get jobs, the same opportunities to get jobs, to get places that they can afford to live, that they can raise their family in safety. That's institutional racism.
I've demonstrated that I have zero tolerance for discrimination, whether it's in our employee handling of situations or any other employee situations or housing. Discrimination based upon race, sexual orientation, national origin, religion, creed, zero tolerance. Now I understand the basis of institutional racism. I don't subscribe to much of what is in the book you gave me as far as the new Jim Crow laws. Because when it comes to the enforcement of laws, there's a victim. Somewhere, the police are called, and there's a victim. There's a complainant. And then it's not up to the police officer, it's not up to this mayor to pick and choose which which laws we're going to enforce, there's really not much gray area. Now, if there's a way to negotiate it away, if there's a way to talk to the complainant and say, well, it wasn't really this or that, but that's up to the justice system, the criminal justice system to handle. And a lot of times with first-time offenders, there's the pretrial interventions, there's the plans and things like that. But we still must demonstrate that, you know what? There are consequences for making bad choices. And if we can catch it early, we can do something about it. But there's still a victim at the end of the day.